Today, Karen Reed back in court. It's the case that captivated the country for more than 2 years. The former professor accused of hitting her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, with her SUV, leaving him to die in the snow. And today's high-stakes hearing could have profound impacts on her upcoming retrial.
Are you worried that your defense will be removed?
Of course I'd be worried to lose any member of my defense team.
At question, her lawyer's handling of witnesses.
We know that we are getting a fraction of the story.
The prosecution has submitted what they say was an undisclosed invoice for nearly $24,000 from 2 expert witnesses to Reed's attorneys, and argued those witnesses should be barred from her upcoming retrial.
We have witnesses that were wholly portrayed as independent. When we look at the testimony, it was represented many times in court, leaving the impression that the defense had no access and no special relationship.
If the defense brings in an expert witness, they are almost always going to be paid. So that shouldn't come as a shock to anybody. It's absolutely true. If the defense paid them, they should have discovered that to the prosecution.
I don't think it's the defense that's creating ghosts, illusions, and shields here.
Karen Reed's attorneys fighting back against the allegations today, arguing that they were unaware that they would be billed by ARCA, which is an accident recreation firm that defense attorneys said throughout her case were independent expert witnesses.
The defense position is that there was absolutely no meeting of the minds that ARCA was going to be compensated by the defense. So here's the punchline, Your Honor, with the invoice. Came out of the blue. It came out of the blue.
Mr. Brennan.
In a hearing last week, Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan read out loud email messages exchanged between defense attorney Alan Jackson and ARCA employee Dr. Daniel Wolf.
So my specialty in the area of lighting and human factors results in a lot of my cases involving pedestrians. Pretty important stuff in this case. And then he comments, if you don't want me to say this, that's fine. That's fine. Shh. Don't tell them.
The defense did not deny the messages, but says all communication was done through proper channels. Dr. Wolf had been a key witness for the defense during trial, testifying that John O'Keefe's fatal head injuries were not consistent with getting hit by a car, and saying the damage to Reed's taillight didn't line up with the prosecution's theory.
In your expert opinion, based on all your testing, is the damage to the taillight that you saw consistent with striking a human head?
No.
In your expert opinion, is the damage to the taillight consistent with striking a human arm?
No.
During the trial, Dr. Wolf was also questioned about his relationship with the defense.
You haven't been paid by the defense?
You have not paid us anything, no.
And you don't work for us?
That's correct.
As a matter of fact, I've never asked you specific questions about your testing before today.
That is correct.
The high-profile murder case consuming and dividing the community.
Justice for JJ!
And sending many on social media into a frenzy.
Is she being framed in an elaborate cover-up involving corrupt cops, or did she back up into her boyfriend and leave him for dead?
Free Karen Reed!
At times, Karen Reed supporters swarming the courthouse.
But this one has turned into a salacious soap opera of a case. From the very beginning, emotions are running high.
It all started on a Friday night in January 2022. Reed and O'Keefe drinking with their friends at a local bar. Later that night, Reed says she last saw John O'Keefe after dropping him off at an after-party at a fellow Boston police officer's home. She says she awoke in the middle of the night and he wasn't home.
I called a few of his buddies, their wives.
In fact, no one had seen him, so she says she goes back to look for him in the car.
Now I have an immense sense of dread, like a fright in me that I have not experienced before.
Do you expect to see him like lying on the street drunk?
Yeah.
Or passed out?
I was worried he might have gotten hit by a plow.
Reed meets up with some of John's friends and they all return to the house where the after party was, and then she spots him in the snow.
His eyes were shut and he had spots of blood in different areas on his face, and he was still, not stiff, but still.
John O'Keefe is soon declared dead, but the investigation is about to explode. Investigators finding pieces of a taillight they say are from Reed's car at the crime scene, alleging those pieces broke off after she hit O'Keefe with the car.
I was talking to my best friend on the phone, and I said, there's a lot of cops circling, and I said, I think I'm gonna get arrested.
Reed was later charged with second-degree murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene, and pleaded not guilty. Would you say that you were angry with John that night?
Yes.
Could you have been angry enough and slightly drunk because he had annoyed you that in the fit of rage you just backed up and
Never.
tried to tap him?
I would never.
Not to try to kill him, but try to
tap him with my 6,000-pound full-size SUV. To hit John's body with my car, no.
In the months leading up to the trial, Reed's defense team argued in hearings and filings a stunning new theory that the injuries on O'Keefe's body were not consistent with him being hit by a car. They claimed she was framed.
There are people in that house that are actually responsible for his death and who murdered him. And there are others in the house who are covering up that murder.
The prosecution insisting that no one at the party had anything to do with O'Keefe's death, and they denied that Reed was being framed. The homeowner testified in the trial, contradicting Reed's account.
And at no point in time over the course of that evening or the early morning there did John O'Keefe or Karen Reed physically come into your house.
John O'Keefe and Karen Reed never entered my house.
The defense questioning the lead investigator, State Trooper Michael Proctor, on the stand in an attempt to discredit the investigation, asking him to read aloud derogatory texts he sent about Reed.
If you could just read the responses from yourself, sir.
Okay, so these came from me. She's a whack job. Yes, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though. No ass.
What, if any, impact did that have as far as your investigation was concerned regarding this?
These juvenile, unprofessional comments have zero impact on the facts and the evidence and the integrity of this investigation.
After the trial, Proctor was suspended without pay. The Massachusetts State Police said there's an internal investigation into his conduct. But after 5 days of jury deliberations, no verdict.
I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
Family and friends remembering John, the son who always dreamed of being a police officer.
He was lost in this whole circus, and I think none of us want him to be lost. So I think we were all waiting for it to be finally over, so we can finally grieve.
I mean, that could be another 18 months.
It could be another 5 years.
And we're gonna be there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All rise, please.
In November, Reed appealed to the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court, arguing she shouldn't be retried on 2 of the 3 charges because of double jeopardy.
The defense is arguing that after that verdict was rendered, multiple, to the tune of 5 jurors supposedly reached out to the defense in one way, shape, or form, saying that was not our verdict. We were conclusive as to 2 of the 3 charges.
Her request was denied, the court ruling that the jury had said they did not reach a unanimous verdict during deliberations. Reed has since appealed to a federal judge. Her retrial is set to begin in April.